In 2003, when I wrote Open Innovation, I did a Google search on the term Open Innovation, and I got back about 200 page links. When I did that same search this summer, I got 13 million page link responses to Open Innovation. And these responses were much more about a new model of industrial innovation. So it has come a long way in 7 years. Where I see it going is, in the beginning it was about bringing external ideas in. Then it became focused on intellectual property. Now it's beginning to look at the inside going to the outside. And the area that, and an area that I see as growing is the idea of true collaboration and partnerships, where it's not simply bringing an idea in or taking it out, but creating processes for ongoing, sustained partnership and collaboration. The first time we held this program was at the High Tech Campus in Eindhoven at Philips, and it was only Philips people in the audience that first time. And after that first session, people who went through the program realized this needed to be open to others. It embraced quite a bit in consumer products companies, Nestle or Unilever, Procter & Gamble or Kraft. I see it in the IT and ICT industry quite a bit. It's becoming more common, but it is not as far in pharmaceuticals. It's coming. I think in other businesses, like the nuclear power industry, it has not started. But when we get to green and renewable technologies, I think it's already well established. I think one factor that really helps is when you have active university research going on in a particular industry. That becomes, I think, a very powerful resource to open up the innovation process. When you see a lot of venture capital investment, that's another area. When you see new startup companies coming into the industry, that would be a third area. The companies that I think have embraced open innovation first often did so in response to a crisis in the company. And so when they were really in trouble and they realized they couldn't continue to do business the way they had, then they became much more interested in approaches like open innovation. So ironically, companies whose businesses are going pretty well tend to be slower to adopt open innovation than companies who either went through a crisis or were in an industry where some of their competitors went through a crisis and then they had to change to keep up with their competitors. One very important criticism is that we don't say enough about the customer and the user at the end of the process. They are actually not simply the end of the innovation process, they have a very powerful role in motivating and inspiring innovation. In some cases, they play a very central role in initiating and driving innovation. So I think that's a very useful criticism and insight. A second area is that how will we invest in the basic long-term research in a world where everybody's trying to be open, but we're using each other's research? Who will make the long-term technology investments that will create the future industries 20 years from now? So that's another criticism that I've heard. I think there's also validity to that as well. A third, which is not so much a criticism, but is a concern, is what are the public policies we need to adopt in a world of open innovation to accelerate innovation in our economy, whether it's the Netherlands or the EU or the US or some other domain. how do we increase innovation in an open innovation environment? Next January, I have my latest book coming out, which is about open services innovation.
Okay.
And it is about open innovation in service businesses as opposed to new products and new technologies. So that is not 30 years away, that is the next book. And when I wrote that book, I thought I was going to be studying banks, insurance companies, real estate offices. And what I came to understand is many of the traditional manufacturing businesses are getting more and more of their revenues from services. So as it happened, I started off thinking I was going to be writing about one sector, the services sector, and I came to understand that really it's true for all businesses, whether you are a product or service, that there's a services, open services innovation perspective that's useful for both. So that's the near-term answer. My longer-term answer is that I think we're going to see virtual innovation, where we have collaboration not simply within an organization or even within a community, but we're going to have networks of communities that do useful, innovative things together, some of whom will be in the same company, but many will be in other companies or individuals or people who are retired, a variety of roles and ways for people to connect and collaborate together. And the tools that will enable that are many of which are already here, but will get better, include things like the video conferencing, the social networking methodologies, the things that we know about each other, the work that we've done before, the work that we've done together before. And so if you think about how Hollywood today does movies, every movie is a new project. And the team that makes that movie is constructed from new every time. The director, the producer, the actors, the special effects, the location, the story, the screenwriter, all those things are pulled together for that project. I see that kind of project-based model becoming very widespread in 30 years. One of the things that open services innovation focuses on is this role of the user and the customer and how important they are in the innovation process. So finding environments that invite the customer in, that invite the user to participate and lead some of the innovation activities become really important and very valuable. So if you have to get users involved, you need to give them environments that have rich resources that can be put together quickly. And so high tech campuses, co-laboratories, environments that simulate what the user might experience in the future, these become very powerful innovation tools. I don't think it will. I think intellectual property policy is going to have to change because I think our intellectual property policies are based on a 20th century view of technology and innovation. And I don't think they do enough in this interconnected, networked environment. But I do think we will still have forms of intellectual property, particularly when we have to make investments to go to scale, to really take technologies out in high volume where there's capital intensive investment needed to accomplish that. So, for example, advanced process semiconductor technology is a very capital intensive research activity. We're not going to be able to fund that except through some policies for intellectual property. But what I see going on in those very areas are more open policies where the expenses and the risks are shared among a group of companies instead of a single organization. And so this group of companies then have royalty-free access to these technologies. Now, an organization that's outside, that did not participate, that did not contribute, they too will have access, but on different terms than the organizations that do participate and do contribute. So, but in other areas where capital intensity is not high, I think we will need different intellectual property approaches that focus on attribution and sharing and recognize that we're building on top of each other's work. And giving one person the ability to exclude everybody else reduces the ability to build on top. And so we're going to have a policy that can intelligently segment these different uses.